When a sailor dies on an aircraft carrier 2,000 miles from land, their body goes straight into the milk locker, the same refrigerator storing breakfast for 5,000 crew members. Right now, somewhere in the Pacific, this is happening on one of America's 11 supercarriers. But the 48-hour protocol that follows will absolutely blow your mind. What do they do with the body until the ship reaches port? And why does one wrong move risk an international incident? Join us as it gets even more interesting by the minute. Let's start with the moment that changes everything on a carrier. A sailor collapses on the hangar deck, a space the size of 3 basketball courts. Within seconds, our Navy's finest medical team rushes to the scene. A real case aboard the Gerald R. Ford shows the medical team initiating CPR, attaching defibrillator pads and administering medications as they transported the patient through the hangar deck to the main medical ward. Everything humanly possible to save one of their own. But sometimes, even America's best Navy corpsmen can't win the fight against death. The ship's medical officer makes the call that no one wants to hear. The time of death gets documented down to the exact minute. The location gets recorded with GPS coordinates accurate within 3 feet. Photographs are taken from multiple angles. This isn't just a medical procedure, this is the beginning of a legal chain of custody so strict that it could end up in congressional hearings if anything goes wrong. What happens in those critical first minutes after the death is crucial. 2 separate crew members must provide written statements identifying the deceased sailor. We're talking about shipmates who knew this person. Ate with them. Worked alongside them for months. These brave men and women have to look at their friend's body and confirm in writing that this is exactly who the medical team says it is. The emotional weight of this moment is staggering. The numbers behind these aircraft carrier deaths reveal just how dangerous carrier operations really are. During a typical 6-month deployment with over 5,000 of our finest personnel, studies show between 291 to 412 injuries occur. That's almost 2 injuries every single day. Flight deck operations alone account for dozens of these incidents. One wrong step near a jet intake pulling air at 200 miles per hour. One moment of inattention around propellers spinning at 1,200 revolutions per minute. An American hero is gone in an instant. Records show incidents as such from 1988 on the USS Theodore Roosevelt. The carrier lost 2 sailors in separate accidents that show just how unforgiving this environment can be. One got blown into the Pacific Ocean by jet blast from an F-14 fighter, a force strong enough to flip a pickup truck. The other walked directly into the spinning propeller of a C-2 Greyhound transport plane. Both deaths happened within weeks of each other during routine flight operations. But it gets even more intense and shows the incredible precision of our military. The medical team has to collect dental X-rays, fingerprints, and DNA samples before the body moves 1 inch. This isn't optional. It's the Department of Defense policy that ensures no American service member is ever lost or misidentified. Every sample gets documented, sealed, and stored separately with military precision that would make a forensics lab jealous. You might be thinking the Navy just flies the body off the ship to the nearest military base.
Wrong.
When that carrier is conducting combat operations 1,200 miles from land, that's about the same distance from New York to Miami. Every single helicopter is mission critical. Flight operations run 24/7, launching and recovering fighter jets. Weather conditions might ground all aircraft for days. Enemy threats could make helicopter transfers a death sentence for the flight crew. The brutal reality hits fast. The body isn't going anywhere soon. It needs to be preserved right there, on this ship, using whatever facilities our incredible sailors can adapt. The temperature in the medical bay is 75 degrees, warm enough for decomposition to begin within 4 hours. The clock is ticking like a time bomb. So, where do they put the remains on a ship that was never designed to hold one? The truth is, there is no morgue. Despite housing 5,000 souls and operating in the world's most dangerous environments, most of America's mighty aircraft carriers don't have dedicated morgue facilities. When death comes knocking, our Navy shows incredible ingenuity by improvising with food storage in a way that proves American military innovation never stops. The milk locker becomes the temporary morgue on aircraft carriers. This stainless steel walk-in refrigerator, twice the width of an elevator and tall enough to stand in, normally stores dairy products for the crew's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's 50 gallons of milk per day for thousands of hungry sailors. The temperature sits at 38 degrees Fahrenheit. That's colder than your home refrigerator but warmer than your freezer. The engineering precision behind this body storage adaptation is remarkable. Here's what most people don't understand about why this aircraft carrier body storage actually works better than you'd think. Freezing a dead body causes massive problems that our Navy figured out decades ago. The tissue gets damaged like frostbitten skin. Discoloration spreads. Post-mortem fractures can occur in the bones. Imagine ice crystals forming inside human tissue and cracking it from within. The Navy learned this lesson through experience and adapted its mortuary affairs protocols. Now official policy specifically states that remains should be refrigerated, never frozen. The preparation process reveals just how seriously the Navy takes this sacred responsibility. Navy corpsmen trained in mortuary affairs, these unsung heroes work in conditions most Americans can't even imagine, and wrap the body in clean white sheets with military precision. Then comes the critical part. The body gets placed inside a robust, leak-proof human remains pouch. These are military-grade mortuary bags, made of thick, durable plastic designed to contain all bodily fluids with utmost security. But the ship must continue to function. The carrier can't just shut down a vital food storage area for weeks. The remains are secured in a designated section, clearly marked with biohazard warnings. Strict protocols ensure that food storage and this temporary duty are kept completely separate. Down in these cold storage areas, something remarkable happens that shows the true brotherhood of sailors. The mortuary affairs team guards their fallen shipmate like family. Someone checks on the remains every 4 hours around the clock. Temperature logs get maintained with entries every single hour. Any changes in the body's condition are documented immediately with photographs and written reports. This level of care and respect is what makes our military the finest in the world. If this opened your eyes to the incredible dedication of our Navy corpsmen handling remains on aircraft carriers, hit that like button right now. So what do they do when the carrier is so far from land and that storage isn't enough for honoring our fallen heroes? The commanding officer faces a decision that shows the incredible weight of leadership in our military. Transfer the remains to shore, or commit them to the deep ocean in one of America's most sacred traditions, a Navy burial at sea. Here's what the official rules say that'll shock you. The Department of Defense states that burial at sea should only occur when transfer to shore is operationally impracticable or when the remains pose a health hazard. But wait, it gets even more intense and it is a complex decision. The ship's captain can't just decide on his own. He must consult with the Armed Forces Medical Examiner, a senior military pathologist, and military criminal investigative organizations before authorizing a burial at sea ceremony. This decision is so complex and shows the challenges our carrier commanders face every single day. The numbers tell a story about when these incredible leaders have to make these tough calls. Between 2017 to 2022, 42 aircraft carrier personnel lost their lives. The USS Fitzgerald collision in 2017 killed 7 sailors instantly when a container ship struck the destroyer at 3 a.m. The USS John S. McCain collision killed 10 of our finest. When multiple deaths occur simultaneously thousands of miles from land, Navy burial at sea becomes the only practical option that honors these heroes. You might be thinking the Navy would always choose to bring bodies home to their families. But operational reality requires tough decisions that our commanders handle with incredible grace. When the USS Theodore Roosevelt conducted combat operations during Operation Enduring Freedom, the carrier spent 160 consecutive days at sea without touching port, which is over 5 months protecting American interests. Any death during that period meant months of refrigerated storage or immediate military burial at sea with full honors. It is amazing how our carriers honor their fallen. The USS Nimitz conducted a burial at sea for 17 service members and 1 civilian on December 6, 2017, each one honored individually with a full ceremony. The USS Abraham Lincoln performed the ceremony for 6 former sailors on October 4, 2017, on the ship's massive aircraft elevator overlooking the endless Pacific. The USS Carl Vinson held a ceremony for 30 former service members in their hangar bay on November 20, 2021. 30 families received that phone call with coordinates where their loved ones now rest forever in the deep ocean. You may wonder what actually happens during a burial at sea ceremony. The ship's announcement system crackles to life with words that stop everything. All hands, bury the dead. That single phrase echoes through every compartment on this floating city. Within minutes, thousands of sailors not on essential duty gather on deck in their dress uniforms. Officers place black bands on their left arms, a tradition dating back centuries to when mourning warriors wore dark cloth into battle. Next, the entire aircraft carrier, a warship weighing 100,000 tons, will slow or come to a stop in the middle of the ocean as a sign of respect. All flags drop to half-staff. Flight operations cease. The ship that never sleeps, that launches jets every 45 seconds during combat ops, goes silent except for the sound of waves against the hull. The requirements for a full casket burial are incredibly specific. The casket needs exactly 20 holes drilled into it. 8 on top. 8 on the bottom. 2 on the head end. 2 on the foot end. This isn't random, though. These holes ensure the casket sinks quickly to depths of 600 feet minimum, that's twice the height of the Statue of Liberty, and stays down permanently in waters at least 3 nautical miles from any shoreline. The casket must weigh at least 300 pounds total, heavier than 2 full-grown men. Sand or concrete gets added to reach this weight because lead is banned by environmental regulations. Even in death, these veterans protect the marine environment they once defended. The engineering behind this burial at sea procedure is nothing short of genius. The moment of commitment is absolutely solemn and brings tears to the eyes of sailors who've seen combat. The command rings out like thunder, firing party, present arms. Every sailor snaps to attention with a hand salute so sharp you could hear it. The chaplain reads the committal prayer, words spoken over warriors for generations. At the exact right moment, the casket bearers tilt the board with movements practiced for days. The casket slides smoothly under the American flag and into the ocean with a splash that echoes across the water. The firing party fires 3 volleys into the air, 21 rifle shots total that crack like lightning. The sound carries across the water for miles. Then a single bugler plays taps. A real sailor with a brass bugle playing the most beautiful and heartbreaking 24 notes in military tradition. For cremated remains, which make up the vast majority of the 1,500 annual Navy burials at sea, the process is equally respectful but different in execution. The urn sits on a small table covered with biodegradable flowers. When the moment comes, an officer carefully opens the urn with white-gloved hands. The ashes scatter into the wind and waves, becoming one with the ocean that covers 71% of our planet. Here's the part that really shows the Navy's dedication to families back home. In the case of an active duty death, the commanding officer writes a personal letter to the family. This letter includes the precise date and time of the ceremony down to the minute. The exact latitude and longitude coordinates where their loved one now rests. The 5 major Navy ports handle all burial at sea requests with dedicated coordinators. Norfolk in Virginia. Jacksonville in Florida. San Diego in California. Bremerton in Washington. And Honolulu in Hawaii. The waiting time averages 12 to 18 months from request to ceremony because the Navy won't rush this sacred duty just to meet a schedule. They wait for the right ship heading to the right location with the right weather conditions. Every detail must be absolutely perfect because they get only one chance to honor each veteran properly. What other hidden operations happen on aircraft carriers that most Americans never see? Do you think the Navy's balance of combat readiness with the sacred duty of honoring the fallen will make our founding fathers proud? Let us know what you think. Share your thoughts with us in the comments section.
Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.